What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back with another episode of Fair Use. That's right here. I'm reacting to things here in the black world. And today I am reacting to the Afrodamus report. It's a good brother from the Gambia. And he has a video called FBA ADOS War on African Immigrants. So it's a pretty decent stream. It's pretty long. I'm only going to be reacting to a little bit of it, starting from 12 minutes and 21 seconds. But let's see what he has to say about what's going on between the beef between African Americans and African immigrants. Let's get into the video.
Black people, they have been, back in the 60s, they fought for integration, to integrate with white people. And mind you, not every black person was with this. Let me tell you, I've talked to older black people who used to live back in those days. They were not with, like the Jim Crow laws. They wanted to be treated fairly, the laws across the board, but they want to remain as themselves. They want to remain as their own people. So this integration, they have people that they push forward. Mm-hmm. Not only did they remove Jim Crow, they are like, okay, let's integrate black people because they have.
Okay, let me kind of stop there at 13 minutes and 5 seconds. He makes a good point saying that black people wanted to integrate, but and he even clarifies it himself. Black people were looking for equal rights. And I think what ended up happening is that integration ended up being something else. So our best people at the time, even Martin Luther King said, I've taken my people into like almost a burning house. We saw the best of our people leave our communities going into the mainstream America. So instead of going to Jackson State or going to Tuskegee University and coming back to our communities, people were able to go into, corporate America or to Harvard or to Penn State. So the result of Jim Crow laws and the civil rights and the voting rights is what, took the better blacks into greater America and kept lower blacks in the ghettos. That's what kind of really happened there.
Blacks used to have their own economy. So black people the mistake they did was integrate, and they gave up their power, completely gave up their power. So in 2020, to get them to vote, ADOS is an offshoot of the Democratic Party. They came up with reparation talk. Their reparation, now all of a sudden the shocker started coming. These people started displaying many Afrophobic rhetorics, because I was there from the beginning. I used to watch them.
Okay, so let me talk about this. Here's where I think this is a misconception. He's saying that when the ADOS talk came, that's when the Afrophobic rhetoric started. This rhetoric between the black community and African Americans has been going on for years. So it started on social media, maybe a little bit more with ADOS, but even before then, okay? What happens on social media is what happens in real life. African Americans and Africans, there's been some beef in Caribbeans for many years now, especially in the last 40 to 50 years. My mom went to UC Davis in 1968. It was evident then, at that time. So this precedes Tariq Nasheed, it precedes ADOS. It's been a problem on both sides for a long time.
They would say, very provocative things about African immigrants across the board. Many of you, like myself, we were all shocked. We were like, we supported you guys. We support your reparations. So they frame this story like if they fight with a couple of, people who are not, originally from America, they would take those people and make them the symbol for every immigrant, right?
Okay, let me start there. So basically he says that there were people in the African community that were shocked, like, wait a minute, we support you guys. So why is the rhetoric towards us? And I would say the same thing is vice versa. Like a lot of African Americans would be like, well, wait a minute, like what's the hatred from you guys coming our way? But here's what I think happens. When African Americans have a bad experience with Africans, like maybe once or twice, we don't have the same patience with them than we do with our own group. Like if you look at the murders that happen in amongst blacks, most of them come from the African American community. because even though it hurts, it's still our same people. But other people who are not like us or who we don't consider 100% our people, we don't have that patience for. So at any point, if somebody gives us a bad experience, whether they're from the Nigerian community or Ghanaian community, it's so easier to say, you know what? All of y'all are like that, because we don't want to give you the opportunity to redeem yourself, or same thing or vice versa. So this is what's happening. So he's explaining that, okay, they've taken some bad experiences and then they've scapegoated everybody, which happens, to be fair, the African community does it to us. Oh, don't talk to them. They're all drug dealers. They're lazy. I don't want my daughters dating no African-American people or daughters and things like that. I'd rather, I've seen it. That doesn't mean all of them do it, but that stigma out there is strong enough to cause strife and beef. Let's get into the video.
So the group started getting popular. Tariq got a wind of them. He joins and he splits off. That's where FBA comes into play.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, talk about identity crisis. These groups are brand new, but now look at how people are identifying with it like in a trance. So Tariq Nasheed obviously is pretty good at framing, what he wanted to do. So he moved away completely from Pan-Africanism to start claiming that they are indigenous to the United States of America, that they are not from Africa. 3%, only 3% slaves were what was brought here. So many of you started getting confused. We're like, wait a minute.
At 15 minutes and 8 seconds, when he says like indigenous to America, he might be talking about the fact that we've been here since the inception of the country. But I don't believe that Tariq Nasheed feels that we're like Native Americans or something like that. I don't think that's what the case is, or that we're not African. Clearly, his Hidden Colors series would absolutely prove that we have West African lineage and things like that. But let's go ahead on.
So they're like, we need to separate from Africans. Now, they don't even call us Africans. They even Tariq Nasheed created an epithet for African immigrants, calls us tethers. You guys see it. This is what they call us now.
Yeah, tethers is like tying up a wild animal to a rope. That's what a tether can mean. I don't know what he may mean in that aspect, but it's one of the epithets. Like, also, it's an internet word too, is tethering, but I don't know what he means by it. But go ahead.
Nowadays, right? Tariq Nasheed came up with this. So, they've, this has been going on for over 3 years now. This is not only Tariq. You have another guy called Jason Black.
Okay.
You have Professor Black Truth. Man, if you're listening, you would think it is what they used to tell you to say is the KKK talking about Africans this way. And people enjoyed this. Look, we Africans were the butt of their jokes.
Okay.
I'm literally telling you this. It's fascinating to watch. Nobody steps in and said what Tariq was saying was racist, was Afrophobic, or xenophobic. People enjoyed it.
Okay, let me kind of get at that. I think, again, he's having the African perspective. So you got to understand, like, there's the person with the African American perspective that thinks like, yo, these Africans are being mad disrespectful to us. And the Africans are saying, well, we don't understand why these African Americans are being disrespectful to us. And it's his point of view. But being that I've seen both sides situation, I used to go to Howard University. There were women that would get free scholarships from like Trinidad, Tobago, or certain countries in Africa. They told their parents tell them, don't bring home an African-American guy. Like, you don't date their people. You don't talk about their people, right? And so a lot of African-Americans, even like myself, I never really said anything bad about Africans before, but I kind of noticed that, it was like them over there. It was, us over here. And it was like, that they didn't really interact with us a lot. I didn't understand why, but surely I didn't get it. Like, why would your parents tell you something like that? And, don't deal with them. You don't deal with our people. And again, this comes from years of frustration. It's not just new. I think that's what he's kind of failing to realize. He's making some good points, but it's been years since it's been going on.
If somebody like go listen to those shows, you call in, you try to ask questions, they will shut you down. So this has gone on for like, I'm talking. In fact, I have a video here from 3 years ago. From 3 years ago that Tariq made about Somalis, right?
Okay.
He made about Somalis. Then a guy, he sounds like he's Jamaican. He was very bothered by Tariq's rhetoric towards Somalis in this video because I remember watching that live.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to this, the immigrants in general, blacks all over, did support Tariq. So the ADOS, FBA came from ADOS. So from now, it went from we are victims to we built America. We brought you guys here. Now you guys stabbed us in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are at now.
Okay.
So this talk has been going for a while, right? Mind you, I'm giving you context. The Somalis never responded. Nigerians every now and again will respond, but it's not as strong.
Mm-hmm.
So the Somalis have had it.
Mm-hmm.
The Somalis have had it. And the Somalis, mind you, everything you're about to hear, they are responding to the buildup of what's been going on.
Okay. So what he's saying is that people in the FBA camp, like Tariq Nasheed, people would try to call in, have a discussion, and then they won't even let you talk. They'll mute you. They'll shut you down, which I could see that happening on either case, right? And I know that could be the case. That's why people need to have, discussions that are meaningful and things like that. Now, what he's saying is that, this side, like Tariq Nasheed was Pan-African, and then all of a sudden he changed his tune. I know that he did like some things in Haiti and stuff like that. I'm not really so sure of his history about all that he was doing. I know he went to Africa a few times. But the reality is that this problem has been happening a long time. So he said that certain groups will respond, but the Somalis actually got tired of it. All right. Let me kind of go back and talk about, let's listen to some more of this.
Because the Somalis, like any other group that immigrated here, we all know how immigration laws work.
Okay.
If most Somalis that travel is because of the instability in their country. So they have what they call refugee resettlement programs.
All right.
So even those Afghanis you see, they bring them here. United States happen to be one of the countries they would select to bring people to.
Okay.
Germany, other countries are available, even Uganda.
Okay, this is a very strong point. So when Tariq Nasheed asks people, what did you do in your country? So countries like Somalia, even at times Ethiopia, Nigeria, Liberia, because they had Ebola breakout a few years ago. They become refugees and they get resettled into America. Here's the problem that we have as African Americans. We don't get to decide who gets offered as refugees. These people get the offer to come to America by visa letter, by refugees, green card. We have no control in that process of who's coming into the country. It would be different if we had our own country, like called Black America. Then we would be able to decide who to let in and who not to let in, right? But because we're not the people deciding that, then that keeps us at bay. So these are facts. I'm not gonna lie and sit there and say he's telling a lie. He's not.
It is in the interest of the United States to allow the Somalis and people from Afghanistan and other places to come into this country. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely it is against you, the Black person, if you are going to be competing with these people.
Okay, he admits, if you got to compete with these people, it's definitely against you. We see that. We notice it, that if you got to, compete against new people, new foreigners, things like that, people who may not like you, we understand. So he's admitting that.
Anybody that didn't refuse, if you live in America and you have to compete with new immigrants, yes, it will affect you because I mean, if you didn't step your game up until somebody new comes and start competing with you, it would be a problem. But my point is nowadays, ADOS, FBA, there's no more white supremacy or suspected white supremacy. African immigrants and Caribbeans have replaced that because maybe white people no longer pay attention to what black people are saying in America. So I don't know, maybe black Africans are the last resort. And if black people lose this battle, I don't know what other group they are going to find because I can assure you, black immigrants to this country are the least amount, like they are not that many. If you have smoke for immigrants, Mexicans are coming in every day.
Okay. So really what he says is that blacks used to be able to complain about white supremacy, but that's gotten old. So the newest target are the African immigrants, where not that many. But if it's a problem for immigration, then you should be talking to the Hispanic community or other groups like that because they're coming more so than anybody else. They actually are the biggest minority population. We were first. Now we're second now.
So Tariq Nasheed created a group to want to know what's in the interest of, those immigration benefit Black American.
Mm-hmm.
That depends. It depends on who you're talking to. But an African shouldn't waste their time to discuss this because if you are saying you are against this, guess what? I support you, but you have to go talk to your elected officials.
Bingo. This is the point that nobody wants to deal with. It sums it all up. If you don't like immigration, if you want to ask that question, what did you do in your country? I mean, I can understand that from the beefs. But who do you vote for? Most of black people are Democrats, right? So then why is the Democratic Party always telling black people to support the Chicano movement, support this, support that, support all of these other hate bills for everybody else? But then they're bringing those people over that replace you. That's not the African immigrants' fault. That's for the people that your elected officials should be actually doing the right thing by you. But you don't ask for these things, so then they don't give them to you. They pretty much pick your replacements, which he's 100% right. The smoke don't need to be really for them. It needs to be for the people that we elect in elections. Okay, in the voting blocks. That's why voting and spending money with officials makes much of a sense. It makes a lot of sense. But we are not so active in that, right? So that's who the smoke should go for.
You have to listen to who they are promoting. And when they speak of immigration, because many black people say, oh, we marched. But why were you marching for a cause you know nothing about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why were you marching? You are an American. Why would you march to let people come through the border? Like, literally, you are supporting people to break the country's laws. How can you truly call yourself an American if you want to support that? But
okay, so there are some elements of people that support, illegal immigrants coming in. Stacey Abrams, to a certain degree, was one of them. So, okay, why are you supporting people who are going to replace you that are here illegally and they have no ties to you?
But most Africans that come here legally.
That's a good point. Most Africans that come here come legally.
Legally. Invited by the United States government that makes the laws in this country. So an ordinary citizen like you travel to a country, you don't owe them any explanation. I don't owe a white person, black person, anyone why I am in America. I followed the steps, this is what the United States government said it is. And boom, I followed this step and here it is. I respected the laws and the constitution of this country. I didn't break the laws of your country. I respected you. I didn't try to climb over the border, but the people you are marching for are the people crossing the border. Are the people crossing the border. And these people come in millions.
Mm-hmm.
Look, my brothers and sisters, I'm there with you. I don't support people coming through the border because guess what? They compete against you. They do. They absolutely do. I get it. But now, if you don't have control over the government, you can only cry. There's nothing you can do about it.
Okay. Here's the big point, and this is why people got mad at me. You can't do anything about it, which is the reason why the name calling on both sides goes wrong. It's called being powerless. If you want to control what's going on with immigration, you put the money up, you hire elected officials, you put an agenda together to say, hey, listen, we are the Black American community. You need to focus on us as a group and not try to replace us with other people. Okay? You need to do this with our group. So if you don't do this, we're not going to vote for you. We're going to remove our whole entire voting block. We're going to remove our financial contribution. That's the agenda. That's leadership. But when you don't have leadership, you get these things. I think he makes a point. It's not Africans, Hispanics, Brazilians' fault, anybody's fault. If they're getting into the country, if the United States government says that they get what they are supposed to get and they do everything fine. If the conversation needs to be had is like, okay, well then where can we resettle African Americans into their own colony in Africa? Do we go back to Liberia where we can actually help and having our own laws? That's the only way that ADOS FBA is going to be able to work. You need your own country, your own black president, your own Congress to make these rules. It's the only way it works. I know guys are not going to like it, but that's the truth. You can't stop anybody from coming into America unless the laws are in your favor. So guys, what do you think? Check out my man here below. Check out the Afro-Dama Support. Good brother here on YouTube from Gambia. So guys, what do you think? Comment below. What do you think about this? And as you know, I'm out. Peace.